What if I told you that the October 7th massacre of Israeli civilians by Hamas terrorists wasn't just an Israeli problem? It is something relevant for you, wherever you're sitting around the world, and will continue to be relevant until this problem is dealt with swiftly and effectively. Here's why. Hello from Israel. I'm Shoshani, and like many other Israeli men and women, I'm serving in the emergency reserve forces of the IDF in the ongoing war between Hamas and Israel. I think for me and the majority of Israeli people, October 7th is always going to be remembered as one of the most painful, heart-wrenching days of our lives. Just seeing the imagery and hearing the stories of the brutality, the torture that our countrymen experienced, it broke my heart personally, and I think it did the same for many others. But it was a very sobering and eye-opening moment where we realized who we're fighting against. These aren't people looking for freedom. They're not looking for peace. They're not looking for a better deal. They're here to kill us and destroy everything we hold dear in this world. So why should these atrocious attacks matter to you? Why should you care about what's happening here? I mean, aside from the sympathy and the care for the lives lost and the torture and the abuse that people experience here, why does it matter to you? To answer that question, let's zoom out a bit and understand where we're standing. We're in Israel, smack in the middle of the Middle East. And Israel is a democracy, but that's the exception to the neighborhood we live in. The majority of our neighborhood is countries that are non-democracies. In fact, most of them are dictatorships. Outside of the current conflict between the Palestinian people and Israel, there are many other conflicts and violent acts taking place over the last decade in the Middle East. Just a handful of those examples are the huge mass expulsion of Syrian people from Syria through that ongoing civil war to Europe and many other Arab countries. But it's not just them. Many of the nations around us use extreme and brute force against their own citizens and neighboring countries. Just to name a few, you can think of Iran and the Houthis in Yemen. You can think of the Iraqis fighting internally and with other countries, and many, many other examples. Violence is no stranger to this neighborhood. One of the strongest forces fueling violence and evil in this region is Iran. It's the country that's funneling money to the Hezbollah in the northern border of Israel, to countless other small rebellions, including the Houthis in Yemen, and also to the Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip. They are the masterminds, they are the money, they are the ideology behind a lot of the violence and death taking place in this region. So what is the connection between Iranian ideology and the terrorist attacks of October 7th? Well, for decades, Iran, the Hezbollah, and Hamas have been publicly calling for the destruction of the Jewish people in this land, for the state of Israel, and for all Western values. And we misheard them as a collective. We thought they meant if only we gave them more money, if only we conceded to their ongoing and ever-changing demands, then they would back down and everything would be fine. But that's not what they meant, and we really need to listen to what they're saying. They're saying something very clear. Our religion, our fundamental worldview calls for us, the Iranian regime, the Hamas movement, the Hezbollah movement, to kill those who oppose our ideology. And that's what they did on October 7th. This isn't a movement of freedom. It's not freedom fighters. It's an act of religious zeal and violence against innocent civilians. They've been preaching this for decades, and we finally get to see what they really mean. What they mean is violent to an extreme degree, not just against the Jewish people, but for everyone in a liberal country, for everyone in a country with Judeo-Christian values, for everyone in a country that has liberties and civil freedoms. These people oppose what you believe in and will use extreme violence to prevent you from that life. And that's the situation we're in. So if you're sitting in Europe, or you're sitting in the US, or anywhere else where you enjoy freedom, where you enjoy the ability to speak your mind and to believe as you believe, this was an attack on you. And it doesn't end here. This worldview doesn't stop with one attack. It keeps going until someone stands up to it and puts it back where it belongs. 20-something years ago, Israel experienced a 5-year wave of extreme terrorism from the Palestinians onto Israeli cities. We had buses exploding, people being shot as they walked to their home. You couldn't sit in a cafe in Israel without the fear of blowing up into pieces. Everyone thought at the time it was only an Israeli-Palestinian conflict thing, so to speak, until it was no longer an Israeli thing. Until September 2001, until the Madrid attacks, the Paris attacks, the London attack, and countless other attacks that all demonstrated one thing, that this wasn't limited to Israel and the Palestinians. And if we've learned anything, is that if you don't deal with this violence in a swift way, you'll keep experiencing it again and again and again until we all learn the lesson. Outside of the battleground taking place in Israel, there's a media battle taking place worldwide, both on the web and in city centers. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There are a lot of lies, just plain lies out there. And you need to speak up. You need to get educated, you need to learn about what's happening here, and speak up for what's true. Reach out to your loved ones, reach out to your friends, call your legislators, write a petition, make a Facebook post, an Instagram post, a TikTok post, whatever it is, but speak to those who can hear. Speak loudly in support of Israel. Hamas equals ISIS, and they won't be stopped unless we all stop them together.